What's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back into the video today, and today we're going to be talking about breaking news in the NBA as Utah Jazz shooting guard / small forward Talen Horton-Tucker has exercised his $11 million player option to stay with the Utah Jazz, and this one, to me, was very, very surprising. Talen Horton-Tucker had a great season with the Jazz, and I really didn't see him opting into that $11 million player option. I didn't think he was going to be able to get that much more in free agency, but I thought he was going to be able to make more than $11 million in free agency. Also would have been a more long-term deal. But if you view it, I think maybe Talen Horton-Tucker might be viewing as, maybe opting into this $11 million contract is he could really potentially have a way better season than he. If I'm trying to just go through what his mindset might have been through this is, he's not going to be able to make that much more than $11 million a year, maybe 11.5, maybe 12 potentially. That might be, could maybe even make less than 11. It just depends who's willing to pay for him and a potential signing. If he was going to opt out, that's what he would have been looking at. But, the Jazz, he started playing really good at the end of the season, and if he views it this, if he can maybe even have a better season than he had last year. Last year he averaged 11, 4, and 4. I see at the guard position, I know they added in Keontae George, but they lost some pieces last year. Mike Conley was there at the start of the year, so was Malik Beasley. There's a solid chance Jordan Clarkson leaves them in free agency. He has a player option. He might opt into that player option, but I'm gonna go ahead and say he probably won't opt into that player option. And I honestly really do see Jordan Clarkson leaving the Jazz for another team in free agency. I think there's maybe a solid chance he re-signs with the Jazz, but if you look at for a full season with Talen Horton-Tucker, they've lost Malik Beasley and Mike Conley due to other trades. Maybe now they're losing Jordan Clarkson, who averaged 21 points per game for them this season. And Talen Horton-Tucker was getting a lot of minutes at the end of the season. He was getting a lot of minutes to the point where in the last game of the season against his former team, the Los Angeles Lakers, he scored a 45-point triple-double, scoring 45, 11, and 10. So I'm not saying he's gonna, do that every night or maybe even do that any night, because I think Horton-Tucker's talented. I just don't really know if I see him going out there scoring 40 points. Maybe possibly if he gets hot, but honestly, in my opinion, I think I think it's gonna be different if they maybe are able to keep Jordan Clarkson. But if they lose Jordan Clarkson, Talen Horton-Tucker for the Utah Jazz will have a huge season next year. And I really do believe so. But, I mean, I had a great year this year, but I honestly think he next year, if he's going into, free agency next year, he could even make even more money if he has a really solid this year, which I think he should be able to have a really good season this year with the Utah Jazz. And I really do like everything that I'm seeing with the Jazz roster. They're young. They've improved. I'm not only talking about the draft. Yesterday they traded for John Collins, so they've added in John Collins. I loved all three draft picks that the Jazz made in the draft. Drafted Taylor Hendricks. This guy's an absolute beast, and that's not the only pick they had. They had pick 16 and pick 28. And I didn't think it could get much better and it did. It got way better. They drafted Keontae George, an amazing scorer, a good three-point shooter. I really love him. I thought that was a great draft pick for the Jazz. I think it's just a great fit for the Jazz, bringing him in. And then with the 28th overall pick, a huge steal here at pick 28, they drafted Bryce Sensabaugh from Ohio State, who averaged almost 25 points per game for Ohio State this year. A big scorer, a good shooter. I think he'll be another good fit for the Jazz. So I think honestly, in my opinion, I'm going to give the Jazz an A- on their draft, what they did in the draft this offseason with adding in Hendricks, George, and Sensabaugh. And then they trade for John Collins. Now Talen Horton-Tucker's coming back next season. I'm going to be honest, you got Walker Kessler, guys like Walker Kessler and I'm going to try to say his name correctly, Agbagi. which I don't know if I said that right, returning for their, coming back for their second seasons. Lawyer Marketing coming after a career year, an all-star year. Colin Sexton, he's going to be, most likely he'll be the starting point guard for the Jazz this season, so it'll be his it'll be Sexton's first full year as the Jazz starting point guard, because last year, Mike Conley was the starting point guard for more than half of the season. So I honestly, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say the Jazz could maybe, if they maybe, because I could see the Jazz maybe making a move or two in free agency, nothing huge, but I honestly think if they make, a solid signing or two, I could see the Jazz maybe being a team, we saw this year, they were just shy. They were a great team for the first, maybe more than the first half of the season. They fell apart at the end after that trade went down. They lost guys like Vanderbilt, Beasley, and Conley, and things started to fall apart. You saw, some players starting to miss some time at the second half of the season. And I could kind of see the Jazz doing the same thing they did last year. The roster is just as good as it was last year, if not better. Horton-Tucker Jr., Colin Sexton, Agbaji, John Collins, Walker Kessler, Taylor Hendricks, Keontae George, Bryce Sensabaugh, Kelly Olynyk, maybe potential couple free agency signings. I really like what this Jazz roster is looking like, and I really like Talen, bringing back Talen Horton-Tucker, getting him back from him exercising his player option. I think he's going to have a really good 23-24 season. You guys have your thoughts on the news. That's it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and peace out.